Oregon Senior Senator Ron Wyden joins us again on Eye on Northwest Politics, addressing the big issues in Washington, D.C. and in the state of Oregon. Senator Wyden is ranking member of the Senate Finance Committee and is on the Budget, Natural Resources, and Intelligence Committees. Thank you for being here on Eye on Northwest Politics.
Thanks for having me back.
Literally between segments of this program, 2 federal judges ordered the release of the SNAP benefits by the Trump administration. Do you have any idea with these decisions how this is going to play out?
Well, I, of course, haven't seen the decision, but the Trump people are on the wrong side of the law. The reality is there has been a contingency fee for some time, and it's of upwards of $5 billion. And the government has never been in this position before in terms of not being able to help low-income kids and seniors and those with disabilities. And I think we got a sense today what the judicial reaction is going to be, but I think the law is pretty clear. The Trump people do not have the authority to just take back the opportunity to have the contingency fee meet all these nutritional needs.
Well, we know this is all because of the government shutdown. You've heard the argument. Why don't Democrats just help pass the continuing resolution and end the shutdown?
Ken, I am available 24/7 to work with the administration, particularly on the health care issue, which is holding things up. And I have experience at working in a bipartisan way. I think I mentioned to you not too long ago that I led the pharmaceutical benefit manager legislation that would allow us to save billions of dollars on medicine, and we passed it in the Finance Committee 26-0. So if the Trump people or the Republican leadership call up and say, will you work to put together a bipartisan bill so we can deal with this health issue and get on with things, I'll say glad to sign on to work with you.
Do you see any light at the end of this tunnel? We're already bordering the longest government shutdown in history.
Well, I'm struck by why Donald Trump hasn't indicated he would like to negotiate before now. I mean, the reality is that's the essence of working in Washington, is trying to find common ground, and particularly in the Congress.
This week, you called for the Congressional Budget Office to investigate the cost of National Guard troop deployments, not only in Portland, but in cities across the country. What's your reasoning behind that?
Well, this has enormous fiscal implications, and if Donald Trump is going to, in effect, act like a king where he's just in charge of everything, this is going to have enormous ramifications on the budget for priorities like housing and health care and transportation. And I said it's time to get to the bottom of what this is actually going to cost.
Well, I know you've followed the case of Jackie Merlos. That's a Portland mother of 4 who spent 4 months in ICE detention before just being released last week. And it did take congressional action to get that release, to get her out. Why is that particular case so important to Oregon's congressional delegation?
Well, it affects Oregon families because it sets some crucial kind of precedents, and Congresswoman Dexter really stepped up and worked with the delegation, and particularly after it became clear that the family had protection under the immigration laws, it seemed to us that that should extend to Ms. Merlo.
What have you been hearing about ICE actions in Oregon in general?
People are very troubled, Ken. You know, they heard the president say in the 2024 campaign that these immigration policies would apply to terrorists and people with drug cartels and people who had a violent crime record. They never thought that innocent people, particularly young people, would be swept off the street and thrown into these detention kind of facilities. So I think the American people heard something very different in 2024, and the Trump people aren't coming through with what they said they would do.
We've got some news coming out of Washington, D.C. regarding tariffs. You led a congressional effort to challenge the president's tariffs, filing an amicus brief before the Supreme Court. So what's your argument, and what's the status of that?
Well, my argument, of course, is that tariffs are taxes, and this is something else that Donald Trump didn't tell the American people he would do. Food prices are going through the stratosphere. Last night, and you can probably tell from my voice being hoarse, I flew all night to get home. We won by 51-47. We got influential Republicans like Mitch McConnell. And this is going to take us now in the direction of moving to hold down the prices of groceries in our stores and what it costs to buy a car and electronics and the like. And I'm really pleased to be able to come home after just a few hours of sleep and talk to Oregonians about some good news, which is holding down our costs. That's what the 2024 election was all about. When you come to my town hall meetings, I've had more than 1,100 of them. That's what people say they want, is to hold down the costs. And with my legislation last night that passed the Senate, we're moving in the right direction.
So what happens at this point on that
Now
issue?
it goes to the House of Representatives. People are saying, well, maybe the House won't act. I can tell you they're going to get a lot of pressure from consumers and small businesses and others to, again, make sure that we don't have these escalating prices for essentials.
We've seen those videos of the Trump administration blowing up boats off the coast of Venezuela. I'm sure you've seen those videos. This is the administration's battle against drug cartels. As a member of the Senate Intelligence Committee, what do you know about the effectiveness of those strikes?
Well, we know very little even about who's involved, because this is something where the president hasn't kept the Congress informed at all. And I sit on the Senate Intelligence Committee. We have a legal obligation to do vigorous oversight, and the Trump people won't let us carry out those duties because they won't give us any information.
You're proposing your own effort to combat fentanyl production. We read about that. You wrote a letter to the DEA asking them to crack down on foreign middlemen known as chemical brokers. So what are chemical brokers and what are you proposing?
Well, they're the people who get in the middle of these transactions in terms of getting the drug ready for the cartels.
Well, this might not be the most consequential issue that we're dealing with right now, but the East Wing of the White House is now gone to make way for a new $300 million ballroom that President Trump wants. You and Senator Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts raised questions about the financing of that project. So what are your concerns there?
Well, my concern is this is an American institution. And once again, the president is keeping the American people in the dark. And very little is known, in effect, of the process for approving various kinds of purchasing policies and the like that are essential. It's time to get the facts, and that's what we're focused on.
We've only got a couple of seconds left, but do you still want to see the release of the Epstein files?
Yes, it's long past time. It's not a blue issue. It's not a red issue. It's a question about transparency and accountability. I'll have some more to say about it next week in particular, because both sides are saying that the follow the money philosophy, which I've had for more than 3 years, going back to the Biden administration, is the right way to go.
Senator Ron Wyden, thanks for being here and coming back on Eye on Northwest Politics.
Thanks for having me, Ken.
Next, the price tag could go up for Portland residents when it comes to paying for parks. A key issue in Tuesday's special election has city leaders on opposite sides of the debate. We'll talk about that right after the break.